It was at that point that everything fell into complete chaos. All the 5 remaining soldiers that hadn't been knocked for a loop rushed Delius at once, and with that, the battle began. In true form, it was complete chaos. That central plaza became a war zone of destruction, bursts of wind and explosions in all directions, vehicles exploding, nearby buildings being crumbled, shattered into by near indestructible bodies, flying at bullet speed, countless craters from impacts, in a battle that seemed to wage on for hours. It seemed that no matter how many times Delius knocked them down, they would simply get back up again and continue the fight. If nothing else, he gave them credit. They were fighters. But no matter how long they seemed to persist in the conflict, there was a clear winner. Though they persisted in their attack, none of their attacks ever truly reached Delius. His speed, strength, and abilities simply far outweighed theirs, too much for them to truly have a chance against him. And as the hours dragged on and the destruction mounted more and more, so too, more and more, did the wounds from their conflict begin to build and stack. It had been nearly 4 hours since the fight began, and combat was at a bit of a lull, as most of the members of the group began to climb their way out of their holes. Some of them had already gathered around Delius once more, forming a wide circle around him, as a few of the last members crawled their way out of craters, dragging themselves back to the point of conflict, the central core that the destruction floated around, Delius. One of the soldiers having to pop his shoulder back into place. With a cringe, a grit of his jaw, and a grunt of agony and pain, the arm popped back into place. "You all right?" one of his fellow soldiers announced, looking at him still clutching at the arm. "Yeah, just a dislocated arm. Nothing I won't live through, I think," he said hesitantly, still dealing with the pain, as they all stared back to Delius, calmly standing in the center. Though his clothes had seen better days, Delius himself was still unscathed. "Damn it, we haven't put a single scratch on him," the soldiers announced as they stared at him. "So, have you realized that this is pointless yet?" Delius said, his arms crossed as he stared about the gathering of soldiers around him. "I went ahead and let you guys play this out. Fight me to your heart's content. I mean, really, look at this place," he said, staring about at the destruction that surrounded them. Burning vehicles, buildings only barely standing. One could surmise that once upon a time there were road structures here. However, the craters made it impossible to truly make it out. Massive piles of rubble and debris. Power lines and conduits ruptured, spilling out gouts of electricity. Surges of power that scorched into the ground, as all of the soldiers breathed heavily, staring about at the destruction. "Just look at this. All of this chaos. And for what? You haven't beaten me. You haven't even come close. Haven't you figured out that this is a waste of time? You can't win. And at this point, you guys are reaching your limit. You're getting slower every moment. You can't move like you did when the fight started. In fact, most of you are down to half speed at best, when you couldn't touch me at full speed. Every muscle in your body is probably aching. Just admit it. It's over. I don't want to hurt you anymore. There's no purpose in it. I commend you on fighting this long, but at this point, it's doing you no good. And what do you suggest we do? We've already made our beds. Now we simply have to lie in them. If we fail to claim victory here, all that awaits us is imprisonment as war criminals. That's the law. So what would you have us do? Just give up, live our lives in chains? No, Delius replied. Truth be told, I don't think that you're bad people. I simply believe that you had a bad leader, that the person in charge misguided you, led you in the wrong direction. They took your intentions, your ideas, and twisted them, warped them in order to fit their own agendas and goals. You claim that your people were the weakest of all of the races in the system. But seeing how you fight, I have a hard time believing it. Weakness isn't simply a matter of physical strength, but strength of the mind, strength of the will, the soul. And you, my friends, have that. You're warriors, every inch of one. Even if you do not possess the same level of ability that my people possess, your strength of will is clear. You were simply led astray, taught to believe in the wrong idea, and in doing so, allowed your strength to be misused. But that can change. This does not have to end in blood or more destruction. Things that are not right with the cycle of things, of life and death. Your death will not serve the cycle. It will not protect those you care for or serve anyone's agenda, but your life could. Apparently, according to Asa, as the due representative for my people, it's up to me to decide who does and doesn't need punishment. The Grand Administrator is the only person that I want. Honestly, she's the only person that I believe truly had corrupt motives in this. Though your ideas were misguided, they were still based in a desire to protect that which you hold dear. So, I can offer you a reprieve from this. Stand down. Let this fight be over. And I, as the representative of my world, will request punishment only for those overseeing you, and allow you to continue your function as soldiers. Your purpose does not have to die here. Live on, and let your purpose live with you. Simply because you have made a mistake does not mean you have to die for it. It does not have to be the end of your story. I offer you a chance to use your strength in the right way, for the right reasons. Make things better instead of worse. Take away conflict instead of simply adding to it. I will do everything in my power to ensure this is the case. But in order to do that, you have to stand down. I am not from your world. I understand that you might have some reservation and trust, even though I do not understand the reservation itself. Dishonesty is not something that I am accustomed to, though I understand that your people are quite used to these concepts. They are new to me, so believe me when I tell you this, and accept the offer. Will you stand down and allow what is right to prevail? Find yourself on the side of true justice, and you would be surprised how forgiving that it can be, Delius said, staring out at the men that surrounded him as they appeared to be thinking it over. before one of them finally stepped forward. I agree. This fight isn't going to gain us the benefits that we'd hoped. All we can do now is hope that you are true to your word. I surrender, the man said, dropping his gaze towards the ground, as one by one the other members began to do the same. Finally, the battle had come to its end. With much destruction in their wake, the conflict had finally reached a resolution. Delius had won, and though the destruction was great, let it be noted that on that day, not a single innocent person lost their life.